Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to discuss about the structure of heart in Scoliodon. If you know about the structure of heart in different animals, generally the heart consists of two types of chambers. They are auricles and ventricles. Okay. Here in the structure of heart of Scoliodon, we see these two chambers. It is a two-chambered heart. Hence, one auricle and one ventricle are present in case of Scoliodon. But in case of human heart, there is presence of two auricles and two ventricles. All of you know about that. In evolutionary process, the two-chambered heart, which is present in the fishes, is evolved in the higher animals like mammals as four-chambered heart. In between these three-chambered heart, we can observe in amphibians and reptiles. Four-chambered heart we observe in birds and mammals. But in case of fish, that is Scoliodon belongs to fishes only. Hence, we can find the two chambers in the heart of Scoliodon. They are one atrium and one ventricle. Okay. If you go into the structure of the heart in Scoliodon is a reddish conical structure which is situated below the pharynx. It is enclosed within a pericardium which is filled with pericardial fluid. This pericardium is a two-layer structure. In between these two layers, there is a presence of pericardial fluid which protects the heart of the Scoliodon from the shocks and friction. Okay, already we discussed that the heart of the Scoliodon is a two-chambered heart. One atrium and one ventricle is present. In association with these chambers, there is presence of two accessory chambers. They are sinus venous and conus arteriosus. What are the accessory chambers? Sinus venous and conus arteriosus. The heart in the Scoliodon is described as venous heart and bronchial heart. Venous means deoxygenated blood. The blood flows through this heart of Scoliodon is always deoxygenated blood. Hence, the heart is represented as venous heart. Next, bronchial heart. Because the heart always supplies the blood to the gills, which are the respiratory organs in fishes. But in case of higher other animals, we can observe that the heart supplies the blood to the body parts. But here, the heart always supplies the blood to the gills only. Hence, it is also represented as bronchial heart. Okay, this is about the introduction of heart in Scoliodon. This is picture shows the dorsal view. The first one is the dorsal view and second one is ventral view of the heart. Okay, we have already discussed that there are two main chambers. They are one atrium and one ventricle. Along with these, two accessory chambers also present. They are sinus venous and conus arteriosus. Okay. Hence, we study the structure of heart in Scoliodon by dividing this into four parts. They are sinus venous, atrium, ventricle, and conus arteriosus. The first part is sinus venous. This sinus venous is triangular sac-like structure having the thin walls. It receives the blood from the ductus pure and hepatic sinuses also open into the uh, posterior. Okay. Uh, that means sinus venuses receive the blood from all the body parts through the ductus caveri, and hepatic sinuses are also open into it posteriorly. So it collects the blood, that is the deoxygenated blood, from various parts of the body, and it opens into the atrium. It opens into the atrium, which is in front of the sinus venuses, through an aperture known as the sinoatrial aperture, which is guarded by valves. These valves always check the flow of the blood from atrium into the sinus venuses. These valves allows the blood flow from sinus venuses into atrium only. Okay, next part is atrium. This atrium is also triangular spongy-like structure which is present on the dorsal to the ventricle and in front of the sinus venuses. This lateral part of the atrium extends and forms the auricular appendages. The atrium opens into the ventricle, that's the next part of the body, which is situated below the atrium through an aperture known as atrioventricular aperture, which is again this is also bordered by atrioventricular valve or bilabiate valve. Okay. These bilabiate valves are fibroelastic valves, cauda tendinae, which arises from the wall of the ventricle. Check the movements of the valves. These valves also allow the blood flow only from the atrium into the ventricle. They never allow the blood flow from ventricle into the atrium. Okay, that means it will check the backflow of the blood into atrium. This is about the atrium. Next part is ventricle, which is located below the, which lies below the atrium. It is thick-walled and highly muscular walls. The inner surface is produced into numerous muscular strands, giving spongy appearance to ventricle structure. It anteriorly it continues as the conus arteriosus, which is a tube-like stout structure. Okay, this conus arteriosus. Next part is conus arteriosus. This conus arteriosus is a thick-walled structure like a muscular tube formed from the anterior part of the ventricle. It contains two rows of the semilunar valves. These are transversely arranged in two rows. Each row has again three walls. In these three walls, one is known as dorsal wall and two other walls are known as the lateroventral walls, which are present on either side of the dorsal wall. A small accessory wall on either side of the dorsal wall is also present in this row of the walls. Chorda tendinae extends forward and backward from these walls and attaches to the wall of the ventricle. The anterior, the conus arteriosus anteriorly continues at the ventral aorta and supplies the blood to the gills. That is the deoxygenated blood to the gills. Okay, and let us see a brief structure of heart again in brief. Okay, it has a two chambered heart, one atrium and one ventricle. It also has two accessory chambers which known as sinus venuses and conus arteriosus. This sinus venuses is a triangular sac-like structure which collects the deoxygenated blood from various parts of the body through ductus caveri, and hepatic sinuses also open into it posteriorly. These sinus venuses the sinus venuses opens into the atrium, which is located in front of the sinus venuses. Okay, this atrium again opens into the ventricle through an aperture which is known as atrioventricular aperture, which is guarded by valves. The ventricle is a thick walled structure and it continues as a conus arteriosus, that is the last part of the heart. Okay, this is about the structure of heart in case of Scoliodon. It is also represented as branchial heart or venous heart. Okay, thank you. Thank you for listening to the lecture.